Hello everybody, today we are going to see about the fetal skull. We are going to see about the suture lines, fontanelles and the various diameters of the fetal skull which is of obstetric significance. Let's get on to the topic. First we will start with the various suture lines of the maternal pelvis. The suture line between the two frontal bones is known as the frontal suture. And the suture line between the two parietal bones is known as the sagittal suture. The suture line between the frontal bone and the parietal bone, this one is known as the coronal suture. Whereas the suture line between the parietal bone and the occipital bone, this one is known as the lambdoid suture. These are the four clinically significant suture lines of the fetal skull. The suture line between the two frontal bones is known as the frontal suture. Between the two parietal bones is known as the sagittal suture. Between the frontal bone and the parietal bone, this is known as the coronal suture. Between the parietal bone and the occipital bone, this one is known as the lambdoid suture. What is the significance of this suture line? The first thing is it will allow molding during the labor. What is molding means? The approximation of the two suture lines. We have 3 degrees of molding, degree 1, degree 2 and degree 3. Normally in every labor there will be first degree molding. First degree molding is just the approximation of the two suture lines, whereas degree 2 is the overlapping of the suture lines, but it is easily separable. Whereas the degree 3 is there is overriding of the suture line which is not separable. So the degree 3 molding indicates severe CPD, severe cephalopelvic disproportion, whereas the first degree molding is normal in every labor. And the significance of the sagittal suture. Whenever the patient is in labor, we are going to do a pervaginal examination and we have to palpate the sagittal suture. We have to look for the sagittal suture. The sagittal suture gives us the idea about the degree of internal rotation. And again, the idea of molding. The degree of molding can be seen by palpating the sagittal suture. And we can know about the manner of engagement of the head. These are the significance of the suture. First one is about the molding, and when the patient is in labor, we are going to do a pervaginal examination. We have to palpate the sagittal suture, which gives us an idea about the degree of internal rotation and the degree of molding and the manner of engagement of the head. This is the clinical significance of the suture. Next, what are we going to see is, we are going to see about the fontanelles of the fetal skull. Usually there are 6 fontanelles in the fetal skull, but clinically significant fontanelles is only 2, which is an anterior fontanelle and the posterior fontanelle. Anterior fontanelle is also known as bregma, whereas the posterior fontanelle is known as the lambda. The bregma is the rhomboid shaped fontanelle. The anterior fontanelle is the rhomboid shaped fontanelle is known as the bregma. It is bounded anterolaterally by the frontal bones and posterolaterally by the parietal bones. This rhomboid shaped fontanelle is known as the bregma, anterolaterally by the frontal bones and posterolaterally by the parietal bones. And we are going to see what is the posterior fontanelle. Posterior fontanelle is a triangular shaped space in the posterior aspect of the fetal skull. It is known as the lambda. It is a triangular shaped thing. Anterolaterally it is bounded by the parietal bones, whereas posteriorly it is bounded by the occipital bone. These are the 2 clinically significant fontanelles in the fetal skull, bregma and the lambda. Bregma is the rhomboid shaped anterior fontanelle, whereas the lambda is the triangular shaped posterior fontanelle. Anterolaterally it will be bounded by the parietal bones and posteriorly it will be the occipital bone. These are the 2 clinically significant fontanelles seen in the fetal skull. Okay, what is the importance of this fontanelles? The first thing, while the patient is in labor, we will do a pervaginal examination and we have to palpate the fontanelles. It gives us an idea about the degree of flexion of the head of the baby. The second thing, the fontanelle is a membranous area, so it facilitates molding during the labor. And since it is a membranous region. It helps in the accommodation of the brain growth. And we can see about the intracranial status of the baby. When there is a bulging of the fontanelles, we get an idea that there is raised intracranial pressure. When there is a depression in the fontanelles, it indicates dehydration of the baby. So we can know about the intracranial status by palpating the fontanelles. And sometimes we can use it for the collection of blood and exchange transfusion. So this is the clinical significance of the fontanelles. The most important thing is, while the patient is in labor, we will do a pervaginal examination to know the degree of flexion, and it facilitates the molding. These are the clinical significance, importance of the fontanelles. Next, we will get on to the diameters, the various diameters of the maternal pelvis, fetal skull. Diameters of the fetal skull. Okay. First, let's see about the various transverse diameters of the fetal skull. The most important thing is the biparietal diameter. The distance between the two parietal eminence is known as the biparietal diameter, and it is about 9.5 centimeter. This is the diameter of engagement of the fetal skull. Biparietal diameter is the diameter of engagement of the fetal skull. It is between the two parietal eminences and it measures about 9.5 centimeter. The next transverse diameter is the super and the subparietal diameter, which is on one side the diameter starts above the parietal eminence, on the other side it is below the parietal eminence. Super and subparietal diameter, it is about 8.5 centimeter. The significance of super and subparietal diameter will be explained in the mechanism of labor. And the next one is the bitemporal diameter. Bitemporal diameter is between the farthest point of the two temporal bones and it is about 8 centimeter. And bimastoid diameter is between the distance between the two mastoid eminences and it is about 7.5 centimeter. These are the four important transverse diameters of the fetal skull: biparietal diameter, super subparietal diameter, bitemporal diameter and bimastoid diameter. The biparietal diameter is the diameter of engagement of the fetal skull. Now let's see about the various anteroposterior diameters of the fetal skull. Okay. The anteroposterior diameter of the fetal skull depends upon the degree of flexion of the fetal skull when it enters the maternal pelvis. See, this is the fetal skull. When the fetal skull enters the maternal pelvis in complete flexion, the diameter of engagement will be suboccipitobregmatic. Suboccipitobregmatic is measured from the point just below the occipital protuberance to the midpoint of the bregma, that is the anterior fontanelle. Midpoint of the anterior fontanelle. This is the suboccipitobregmatic diameter. This is the diameter of engagement when the fetal skull is in complete flexion. It is measured a point just below the occipital protuberance to the midpoint of the bregma, that is the anterior fontanelle. It measures about 9.5 centimeter. So when the fetal skull enters the maternal pelvis in complete flexion, so this will be the diameter of engagement. And while we are doing a pervaginal examination, we will feel for the vertex. So vertex will be felt. So whenever the baby is in complete flexion, the diameter of engagement is suboccipitobregmatic, which measures about 9.5 centimeter. And while we do a pervaginal examination, we will feel for the vertex of the fetal skull. The next one is incomplete flexion. like this. It is incompletely flexed. At this time, the diameter of engagement will be suboccipitofrontal. Again, suboccipitofrontal, it measures from the a point below the occipital protuberance to the frontum. This is the suboccipitofrontal diameter. It is the diameter of engagement when the fetal skull is in incomplete flexion, and it measures about 10 centimeter. Again, this is the complete flexion. This is incomplete flexion. Again, when we are doing a pervaginal examination, I am going to palpate the vertex of the baby. So the presentation is vertex. Next one is deflexed head. In deflection, the diameter of engagement will be occipitofrontal. From the occipital protuberance to the frontum. From the occipital protuberance to the frontum. This is the occipitofrontal. Occipitofrontal diameter is the diameter of engagement in a deflexed head. It measures about 11.5 centimeter. Again, when I do a pervaginal examination, I am going to feel for the vertex of the fetal skull. So, in complete flexion, it will be suboccipitobregmatic, which measures about 9.5 centimeter, and I am going to feel the vertex. In suboccipitofrontal, it will be an incomplete flexion. The suboccipital frontal diameter will be the diameter of engagement, and it will be 10 centimeter. Again, the presentation is vertex. In a deflexed head, the diameter of engagement is the occipitofrontal, and it measures about 11.5 centimeter. Now the head is partially extended. Complete flexion, incomplete flexion, deflection, now partially extended. In this partial extension, the diameter of engagement is the mentovertical. Mentovertical is the distance between the mentum. Okay, between the mentum to the vertex. It measures about the 14 centimeter. This is the mentovertical diameter. From the mentum to the vertex, the highest point of the fetal skull is the vertex, which measures about 14 centimeter in partial extension. So, in partial extension, while I am doing a pervaginal examination, I am going to feel for the brow of the fetal skull. So, it is the brow presentation. And as we have seen in the last lecture, we have seen the diameters of the maternal pelvis. We don't have such a large diameter, 14 centimeter in the maternal pelvis. So, a brow presentation cannot be delivered by a normal vaginal delivery, and it has to be delivered by a cesarean section. In partial extension, the diameter of engagement will be the mentovertical, which is 14 centimeter, and the presentation will be brow. Okay, and in incomplete extension, the diameter of engagement will be the submentovertical. Submentovertical is the junction between the mentum and the neck. From here to the vertex, highest part of the fetal skull, which measures about 11.5 centimeter. And while I am doing a pervaginal examination, I will feel the face of the baby. So this is the face presentation. And complete extension. Again, in complete extension, the diameter of engagement will be the submentobregmatic, which is 9.5 centimeter. And again, I will feel for the face of the baby during the pervaginal examination. The submentobregmatic measures from the junction of the mentum and the neck to the center point of the anterior fontanelle, that is the bregma. It measures about 9.5 centimeter. So, in complete flexion, it will be suboccipitobregmatic. Incomplete flexion, suboccipitofrontal. Deflexed head will be occipitofrontal. Partial extension, mentovertical. Incomplete extension, submentovertical. Complete extension, submentobregmatic. These are the anteroposterior diameters of the skull. Come on, now let us identify the various diameters of the anteroposterior diameter of the fetal skull. The first one is the suboccipitobregmatic. This is the occipital protuberance, a point below the occipital protuberance to the midpoint of the bregma. This is the suboccipitobregmatic. Suboccipitobregmatic is the diameter of engagement when the head is in complete flexion. The second diameter is the occipitofrontal, suboccipitofrontal, from the point below the occipital protuberance to the frontum. This is known as the suboccipitofrontal. The third one is from the occipital protuberance to the frontal bone. This is the occipitofrontal. It is the diameter of engagement in a deflexed head. And the fourth one is the mentovertical. Mentovertical, from the mentum to the vertex, the highest point of the fetal skull. This is the mentovertical. The fifth one is the submentobregmatic, which measures about 9.5 centimeter. The sixth one is the submentovertical. These are the various diameters of the fetal skull. So you have to know about the suture lines, the significance of suture lines, and you have to know about the fontanelles and the clinical significance of the fontanelles, and you have to know about the various transverse diameters and the anteroposterior diameter of the fetal skull, and you should know about the degree of flexion and the diameter of engagement in each degree of flexion. This is the clinically significant diameters of the fetal skull. Again, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section, or you can ask me in the Insta at opsmedec, or you can mail me at yamini.ravichandran1994@gmail.com. See you all.